We're not recording yet, are we?
No, we are.
No. What?
Yeah, but it's not live.
Oh, I was like, don't you put that in there. Oh, my God.
I'll introduce you now and I'll make you sound really good.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I feel so awkward doing introductions.
It is very, very weird.
But this is self-made. This is an episode I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've got the amazing, incredible Stacy with me, operations manager at Enhanced Cleaning Bunbury.
That's very fancy.
My right-hand woman. Makes my life a lot easier.
Makes mine hell.
Yeah, sometimes. This could be an advertisement for our business. We don't want everyone to think it's terrible, even though it is.
It's not terrible at all. It's just stressful, Jace. There is a difference.
Yeah, everyone's seen that I talk about you on Instagram and the TikTok, and everyone knows your name, but they've never seen your face. So I thought this would be a good.
Oh, they'll be so excited now, won't they?
Good introduction. But yeah, I think Stacy is an incredible woman. She's been an incredible asset to the business, and she's really taken it to new heights, and I think we make a great team, don't we?
I think we do. Yeah. We're kind of the yin and yang. I think we level each other out very well.
Yeah, right. So tell us about how we met, if you remember that day and about before that.
I do. You must have thought I was batshit crazy.
Well, you must have thought that, like, what the hell is this? This kid is like 18. What am I doing here? My life is...
Well, it wasn't the day that I met you. It was the day that I rang you on the phone. So
I don't remember that. I remember the day we met.
Well, the day that I rang you, I was literally in tears on the phone when I spoke to you. And I thought, this guy's not going to hire me in a pink fit. But the day that we met, I still think that you're wrong, because you think that we met at Leah's house, but we didn't.
No, it was... What was her name? Lauren.
Oh, Lauren, yeah, the two-story house. But that's not where I met you, no. So the first house that we cleaned was Hovier's. That's where I met you.
Really?
And then we went up and did Lauren's.
I thought that was a few cleans in.
No, that was I always remember that Hovier's was my first, and then we went to Lauren's. And I was already dead after Hovier's, and I thought, oh my God, I've got to do another one. And then when we pulled up there, and it was massive.
Yeah, it was.
And she had toddlers, so that it was a little bit of a...
It wasn't a great clean.
Lived-in experience,
it wasn't a great
let's
clean.
put it that way. I nearly had a heart attack, and I wasn't fit, because the job that I was doing before was kind of a nursing background where I was a diabetic trainer. So I was sitting all night doing night shifts, so it's not physical at all. And then when I came to do this, and I never went to the gym, I'm not a gym girl, and I nearly died. I thought, oh my God, I'm literally going to have a heart attack lugging this bloody vacuum up this hill that was like this. But I did it.
And on top of that, you're taking orders from an 18-year-old who looks like he's 15 at that point.
Well, it's funny. You say that like I would have been concerned about your age, but I didn't even look at it. I was so focused on my why and what I was doing and why I was doing it that it didn't even come into my mind. I was more worried about not dying.
I think that was a big thing for us, because our whys both aligned.
Were the same.
It was very good timing.
Were the same. So my why was literally for my family at the time and how I was going to put money on the table. So the industry I was in was aged care and disability, and obviously with the mandates with COVID, it didn't align with what I thought was the right thing to do.
And it was a crazy time, and looking back, the things that we would say back then, people would ostracise us for, and now today it's like everyone kind of agrees, but they don't really care at this point.
Exactly. Some are too far into it. Some are happy with their decision. I don't judge anyone on their decision of what they did during COVID, but for me, it didn't sit with me, and there was no question. I was leaving that industry, and I was going to do whatever I had to do to make it work. And I literally started trolling on my phone, seeing what was out there. To be very honest, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I hate cleaning. But I say that in a sense that I hate cleaning my own house.
Everyone hates cleaning their own house.
But as soon as I saw the job, I didn't even flinch. There was just some calling for me to call you, and I did. Really? And the rest is kind of history. And then when I spoke to you and our whys completely aligned, I'm a little bit of a hippie, and I do believe in divine intervention and all the rest of it. And I think there was a reason why I called you that day.
It does seem a little bit too perfect in hindsight.
It was.
Everything's worked out really well.
And you were the first person I called. I literally, at the time that I was married,
Wow.
I had a discussion with my ex-husband. I came straight up, was in absolute panic mode, and yours is literally the first ad that I came across.
Wow.
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And you're my very first employee, and you're by far, I mean, everyone else is great, but you're by far the best.
Thank you.
I mean, it's really rare to find someone who's as passionate and driven about your own business as you. So
It's funny because I've never had any background in either cleaning or management. And when you very first came to me with the idea that you wanted me to go into management, I was like, this guy's off his rocker. And because I think you saw something in me before I did. And if anyone had said 2 years ago, this is what you're going to be doing, I'd be like,
you're like, hell no. No
sure,
way.
lay off the crack, because that's not going to happen. But I thank you for seeing that in me, because even in myself, it doesn't matter what other people see, there is no way I ever thought I'd be capable of doing what I'm doing today. And I do thrive on stress, which is good, because this job
Stressful
is stressful.
business.
It is stressful. But it keeps me going, and it's still my why. I will do anything for my girls, and this has enabled me to live comfortably, not have to worry about finances, and raise 2 girls on my own.
Which is amazing.
And well, for that, I have to thank you, because without it, I wouldn't be where I am. And I mean that genuinely. I would not be where I am today without you. And as much as it's not something I ever thought I would do, I think I've risen to the challenge. And I, funnily enough, actually love my job.
Well, I'm glad you do.
A lot of people would think, oh my God, I wouldn't want to do that for quids. But every day is a challenge, and I'm someone that gets bored really, really easily. So every day is different, and every day I get thrown a curveball that I think, oh crap. And I have my little moment, I have my little spit, and then I put my big girl pants on and just
I
get
do
on
think we
with
have a lot of similarities. I get very bored easily too. So the constant changing of the day-to-day stuff really does keep me going. That's why I'm so bored now, because I've got nothing to do. But
because I do it all for you.
But I just knew that you would be great in that role, because your ability with people is unmatched. I can't do what you do.
And the same thing, like as I said before, with the yin and the yang, like the technical side and the business side that you do. Oh my God, I would have no idea where to even start with that. But the personability, I've always had that. I've always had the gift of the gab, and I pride myself on, even in a situation that can be really quite sticky, I can usually dissolve the situation fairly quickly. So, and I think in a manager's role, dealing not only with staff but with clients as well, you need to have it for both, because, as you know, our team is very diverse.
Yes, very.
Very diverse. And you have to be able to treat everyone on their own merit and their own individuality. And it's a bit like having children. Like my 2 girls, I discipline them completely differently, even just the way I speak to them emotively, like if one's having a meltdown. It's the same with all of our staff. Every single one of them is different, and you have to know how to deal with them, whereas I think you kind of have the one mind track of, this is how I'm going to deal with you, and I'm going to deal with you the same as I deal with you, and sometimes that doesn't always work, which is not a discredit to you, but it's just doesn't always fit.
No, I'm very open and honest about how bad I am with people in HR. It's just not for me. I like to be behind the scenes doing marketing and systems and all that stuff. So
it's not that you're bad at it. It's, I think, from a male perspective, you expect everyone to react the way that you would. And I'm a bit the same as well. Like, certain things that our staff do, some of those things that have happened, I would never do that. So it really demoralises me, because I would never expect someone to react that way. Whereas you kind of have the one mind track, and this is what I'm going to say, and this is how they're going to act. And when they don't, it's like, what?
Yeah, I take emotion out of the business to probably a bad extent.
No, it's good, because as I said, you level me out, because, as you know, we had a incident the other day where something happened on site and I came to you and said, can you please proofread my message before I send it? Because I'm too far the other way.
Yeah.
I am too emotive. So it's good that, you can bring me back and say, yeah, you're right with what you're saying, but how about you take this out because they're going to quit if you send that. Yeah. And sometimes it's the other way. You'll say it really, really bluntly and I'll be like, oh, you can't say that because we're going to lose that contract. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
That was a lot of ramble, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I was going to say something about that too. I don't know what I was going to say. I lose my train of thought. So
I'm about to say, we're like Dory. It's like, oh, something shiny.
But no, it's always a constant juggle with people, and especially with how many we have now. We've got like over 25 people. It's just insane.
It is crazy. And I think with how fast, we're growing as well and so many people that we're putting on at once, like I'm going to be very honest, like 4 of them I haven't even met yet. And I've already given them jobs and it's like, oh my gosh, I hope you're really nice people. And it is just such a juggle because, and also it's not just about personalities, it's about age. Like, we've got people that are in their 60s and like right down to people that are in their teens still. And they all come from different generations. So certain things that you would have a conversation with when you're working, if I was with my younger crew, is certainly not a conversation I'd be having with my older ladies. And it's a juggling act.
And that's something you can't teach that.
No.
And I knew you always had that in you. So
thank you.
I was so keen to get you in that role as quick as possible, but I also didn't want to rush you into it.
But you did.
You did. We had a couple of, I guess you had like a day with me where I would do some quotes and you would be with me.
Yep.
And then I'd show you how to use a couple of softwares. But then one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw her in the deep end and see how she reacts. Because I figured things were going to happen, problems were going to come up, but I wasn't going to see them unless you were on your own.
Yep.
So what I did was, without telling Stacy, I booked a trip away for an entire month. And then I told Stacy that I was going to throw her right into the deep end with no real preparation.
None at all. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's, people always commend me for my business acumen, but, I just do things.
You're very impulsive, but sometimes it pays off.
And so, I figured that, you would struggle in a couple of areas, but we wouldn't see that unless we did that. And then you actually did really well, like way better than I was expecting. And that's not a knock on you, but I was like, wow, I didn't think it was going to go as well as it did.
It was very surprising to me too because, Jason was very sly about it. Absolutely you were. And, you even said to me, oh, I'll be on the phone and answerable all the time. No, you bloody wasn't. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to have to figure this out. I think the only thing I really struggled with was learning how to schedule, and you hated me when you got back and you saw all of the invoice reminders because I'd done it wrong. But if you hadn't have done it the way that you did, I don't think I'd be as competent as what I am now.
Yeah.
I think it was very smart of you to do it the way that you did, because I don't have a lot of, especially at that time, because I had just recently left my marriage, so I was quite vulnerable. I didn't have a lot of self-confidence. And as I said, you obviously saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. So if you had have just said, this is what I'm doing and you're taking over, I would have come up with every excuse under the sun not to do it. So for you to do that and for me to just be thrown in the way that I was, kudos to you, because it worked. As I said, we had a few little hiccups, but I never thought I would have been able to handle it the way that I did.
I don't think you realise how well you did as well. I think you added $150,000 to the business in a month. And that's because I never answered the phone.
I could not believe, you even said it, how much money was left on the table. And it's because you literally just don't pick up the phone and say hello.
I know. and we got that far without it.
I know, exactly. So kudos to you that, you've even been able to grow the business as much as you did without answering the phone, because that's insane. But, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was an extremely stressful month. I think it was more the hours that I had to do to make sure everything was running smoothly. And because I have such a strong work ethic and I am OCD, I probably overdo things.
And you were still learning systems as well, so it would have taken a lot longer.
It did. So, like, at the start, like, I was taking forever to just book in a new clean. And, like, now I can do it in 2 seconds, but it was taking me 20 minutes just to make sure I was doing everything right because I didn't want to let you down. And, so, I was up until midnight every night and my poor girls were like, well, where's mum? I'm always on the computer. Still am today, but I'm trying to get better at it. But I would not have been able to do what I do today if you hadn't have taken that month. So, and
it's getting a lot easier now, which is great. And we're getting to the point where you're probably not going to have to do much work at all, really. Besides, the day-to-day juggle of people.
Absolutely.
But we're even going to get people who can kind of disperse that workload. So I knew it would come to this. I have this thing where I can just see things happening in my head. Yep. I knew that if I left you to your own devices for a month, how that would go. And it actually went better than I anticipated.
Thank God.
I thought that after a few months, things would slowly start to fall into place. It took a bit longer than expected.
It did.
We are pretty much at the finish line now, and things are really looking good.
Oh, they definitely are, Jason. I think our biggest learning curve through all of it was how to manage staffing and how to make sure we're ahead of the curve, not behind it, which we were behind for a very, very long time. But having said that, even though a lot of the time we were on the back foot, like I have to credit our team because especially during that time that you were away, and we did lose some staff during that period as well, the girls all rallied together, and more so for me, and I don't mean that to sound horrible, but because they knew that I was in the new role and that I was already under stress in my home life as well as, professional life, they all did everything in their power to pick up extra shifts, do extra days, and rally around to help me to make sure that it worked while you were away. So 100% that is our team. And I was so proud of all of them because they did so much extra work, and it was grueling. It was absolutely grueling. But what we learned out of that is now to make sure we're always overstaffed compared to understaffed. And unfortunately, every time we were nearly at the finish line, we'd lose 3 people in kind of a hit, and I'd be back on the floor. But you just do what you have to do. Yeah, so we made it.
And it's worked eventually. But
Eventually. Now we've got so many people. As I said, I don't even know half of them.
I haven't met half my staff.
I know, but it's all good, and I trust the trainers that we have on now to make the right decisions, and they've all worked out really well. And I suppose it's the same in a professional sense. I mean, like in a personal sense, is you can know someone for years and think that you know them, and then they end up becoming someone that is pretty much a stranger to you. And that's a really sad reality of life. But we all change in our journey, but it's the same even when we're hiring staff. Everyone's going to present themselves in a way that they're going to be above everyone else to get the job. And unfortunately, we've learned that the hard way, that we think that some of these people are fantastic, and within a couple of months, they aren't who.
And it's very rare for people to get better over time, we found.
Absolutely. I think we've learnt very quickly which ones are going to make it through, and we've also learnt very quickly of when someone's about to leave.
Speaking of staff, let's talk about some funny stories we've had along the way, without naming names, because
try not to.
I don't want to get sued or anything.
No, we don't.
Although I do have manager's liability insurance, so I can get sued.
My gosh.
It's good.
Can I sue you?
Well, I hope not.
Oh, no.
No, but where do we begin?
Funny stories of staff or clients?
We can do both.
Let's
talk about, okay. let's call her C.
C, okay. C. I don't know which one you're referring to, but let's go.
Are you sure? C, A, B, C.
Yeah, I know the alphabet. Yeah. I just keep talking and I'll clue on.
D, E.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah,
yes, I'm with you. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So we had this employee C who I don't know. She
never showed up.
Where do we begin? Well, it's weird because she had a really good attitude, and she was actually really nice.
As a person, she was absolutely beautiful, and as on a personal front, I absolutely loved her. And we actually had a very similar personality, and we were going through similar things as well in our personal life. And I just thought she was absolutely wonderful. As a cleaner, same thing. Like when she came on board, I thought, oh, we've hit the absolute jackpot.
I remember you saying to me, like, she is a winner.
Yeah, she was just so good, so efficient, so thorough. And, you know, because her personality was very similar to mine, I thought the clients are going to love her, which they all did. And then just the cracks started showing. And I was like, I don't quite know what to do with this. And unfortunately, it's been a hard lesson for me to learn the line of professionalism and friendship at the same time. And as you know, because I work with the girls every day, I've become extremely close with all of them. So then when I have to put my manager's hat on...
It's hard to separate that.
It's very hard to separate it. And it's not so hard for me to separate it. I can do it quite well now, but it doesn't get received the same way as if you went in and said, that's not acceptable. Yeah. So just little things started happening where I would get how it first started was I got a phone call from the second client of the day saying, C has not arrived yet. Is she far off? And I was like, well, that's a little bit strange. But she was new out on the floor by herself, so I thought she might just be running a little bit behind. Which
is standard. People are usually a bit slower.
A little bit slower, absolutely. So I didn't really think too much of it. So I've given her a call. The phone's rung out. Rang again. Phone's rung out. Rung again. Phone rung out. And I was like, oh, gosh, something's not right here. Sent her a message, please call me immediately. I thought maybe she might be vacuuming and she can't hear the phone, so she'll, message me back in a minute. No. So I actually spoke to someone else on the team and said, well, do you possibly know where this person is? And yeah, literally hasn't woken up to her alarm. Yep. It was already 11:30 by this stage. And I'm in a sweat thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to explain this one away? Which I did, but yeah. And then this became more and more of an occurrence.
It became constant.
It was absolutely constant. And then it got to the point of one day this occurring, and it was an initial service that this person was meant to be on. And I could not get hold of her. And I had to tell the client the situation at hand and that I've had to let this person go. I had already said this on the voicemail to the person at hand, but because they weren't replying to me, there wasn't really much else I could do.
And then what happened?
She arrived at the client's home and she...
After we'd already said we pretty much fired her and explained everything. After I'd already
terminated her and why I had to do that. She'd already had so many warnings and we're at the point where we couldn't do it anymore because it wasn't making us look very professional. And she rocked up and cleaned the home. And the client has contacted me and said, the person is here cleaning my home. And I was like, what? And then I got quite an abusive phone call. Well, it was actually a text message later that afternoon saying how unprofessional I was, that I had told the client that she was terminated before she even knew, which wasn't the case at all. But anyway,
And it's just so ridiculous because, we had given her so many warnings, probably more than we should have. And that's just because we were understaffed at the time.
Absolutely.
And then, we finally let her go and then she just turns on us like that.
It was really, as I said to you before, there's been a lot of times in my life where I've been, I suppose, kicked in the guts is the only way that I can explain it, where you just don't expect someone to react the way that they did. And, even on a personal sense, there was so much that I was trying to help this person with. I'd also helped her financially out of my own pocket. And then to be turned around and said how unprofessional I was and how out of the blue this was that I had fired her. And
that's what I've always told you. I'm like, you're too nice, Stace. Like, why are you helping her out with money? Don't do that. You're just too nice. It's just in your nature.
It's just in my nature, and I learnt the hard way never to do that because I didn't see that money again. I was stupid, and I did do it again with another one of our staff members, but she did repay me, so that was nice. It's just who I am, Jace. Yeah. I've always supported the underdog. I will always help anyone in need, and I was in the position where I could. And I thought one day I might be in that position, and it would be lovely to know that someone.
I mean,
can
it
help
is
me.
a gift that you have to
Thank
be like that with people. But it was just such a weird and funny time. And and the time she cleaned a random house.
Oh my
that was hilarious.
It was.
And at that point, we didn't even react to it because we're like, "Yep, that's
Sure.
C.
Sure.
That's her.
It was
That's something she would do."
funny. It was a clean where it was a bigger clean, so we had 2 people on the service, and the other staff member had contacted me and said, "Is C coming to this clean?" And I said, "Oh yes, she is, love, but she's so and so. So you're going to be starting a half an hour ahead of time, and she'll meet you there." Didn't think too much of it. It was probably another half an hour. She's contacted me again, and she said, "C's still not here." And I'm like, "What?" And so I said, "Okay, give me a moment, love. I'll give her a call and just see where she's at." I flicked her a message, no answer. So then I called her. She answered, and she goes, "I'm already here, Stace." And I said the client's address, and she goes, yeah, I'm on that street. And I said, "The house on the corner?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, I won't say too much because I don't want to confidentiality-wise for the client, but I had mentioned, "Are there twins in this house?" And she said, "Yeah, this is the twins' house." I thought, what is going on?
And then you called me as well, and you were like, "I can't figure out what's going on."
Couldn't figure it out. So I hung up, rang back the other staff member, and I said, "Can you please tell me that you're on this street?" And she goes, "Yep." And I said, "Are you on the corner?" She goes, "Yeah." I said,
the house with the twins.
Yeah, and I said, "The house that you clean every Friday," because this person always clean there. She goes, "Yeah, same one, Stace."
It's like something out of a horror movie.
It was. And then I said, "The twins are there, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Oh my God, I don't know what's going on." So I always have two phones on me. I had both of them on both phones. And then C is telling me she's in the back bathroom. The other lady is saying, "Well, I'm in the front bathroom." I said, "Okay, both of you walk to the kitchen now for me." I kid you not, it was something out of a movie. It was ridiculous. They're both in the kitchen, but there's no one else there. And I'm like, I do not. It was like a parallel universe. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So it turns out we actually do have a client or 2 clients that live on the same street. One is on the far top corner, the other one is on the bottom corner of the street, and they both have twins. It was parallel universe, but it turns out that C was at the wrong address. And that was a daily occurrence with this lovely lady.
Yep. And look, after a while, we just had to laugh every time it came up.
It became a joke. It wasn't even even when we had our Christmas do and she was the last one to arrive, everyone laughed and everyone made a joke.
I felt bad about that. I was looking at people and I was like, don't say anything about it.
Don't say that.
And they were like openly saying like, "Oh yeah, she's late." As usual. I'm like, what are you doing?
Because everyone on the team already knew, because they'd all worked with her and all knew that that's how that it worked. But I did
feel a bit bad.
It was a little bit unprofessional in that sense. But she laughed it off, and as I said, it was a joke after that, and she didn't seem to find that offensive.
She didn't actually care. I talked to her about it, and she's like, "Yeah, no, it is fair.
It is what it is. It is what it is." But as I said, in a personal sense, she's actually a lovely lady, and I wish her well. But it made for a very comical couple of months.
It was hilarious. Sure. I'm actually glad that we had her on board because it made for some nice stories.
Some good stories.
And then she left and started her own business and copied everything we do.
Yes, that was a little bit hurtful to see, but...
and you told me I should pursue legal action, but I said, "No, Stace, just give it some time. She won't last." And
it turns out that it hasn't, but yes. And I said that in a sense that you've worked, not that I wanted to hurt her, but you've worked so hard to build the business, and then for someone...
to just come and take it.
Yeah, and to treat us the way that we did and then kind of turn it around to make it out that everything was our fault, and then to copy everything that you were doing, right down to using the same products, the same scrubbing brush, the same scrapers in her photos.
The same software and everything.
Everything. Yeah. I just thought, Jace, you need to know that this is happening and it's not okay. It's not cool. And yeah, so you're the bigger person and you...
And I just knew someone who had that history and that caliber of thinking was not going to last, and that's exactly what happened.
Absolutely.
So I think, was it you who said this about me being a thermostat? Did you say that?
I have said something like that before, yes. I don't think I've used the word thermostat, but yeah, you're the good regulator, for sure.
Someone called me a thermostat once, and I was like, wow, that actually does fit my description very well.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm just always like this.
Always.
I don't think you've ever seen me get angry or upset.
I've never, ever seen you lose your cool.
And we've never even had an argument.
No, we haven't.
We've never had an issue.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain times, you know, obviously we've been working together nearly 3 years now.
We have disagreed about stuff, but it's never an argument. It's like you have your opinion, I give mine, and then we just come to a compromise.
Absolutely. Like, no, we've never, ever had an argument at all. And you are the most level-headed person I have ever come across. And I've definitely got a lot better at it. But when I first started in the manager's role, I would take, and this is just me and my personality, I take things very, very personally.
That's what I was going to get to as well, is that I had been running the business for 3 years at that point, and I am a very unique sort of person.
Yes, you are.
Stress doesn't affect me.
Yep.
Certain conflicts don't affect me. I go to sleep every night not worrying about what happened that day. And so I ran the business that way for 3 years. And when I put Stacy in, I didn't really account for the fact that she is a normal human being with emotions and feelings. And so she would be calling me in tears most days about things that just wouldn't bother me at all.
Absolutely.
But it was like completely normal for a normal person to be bothered by that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, crap, what do we do here? Yeah. And it was, and you know, I'm, as I said before, I'm definitely more the other way. Like, I'm too emotive. And I know that I am, but I take pride that I am, because I feel. You're like the Tin Man off Wizard of Oz. And I mean that in a good way. I'm too young
to even get that reference.
But I'll just let that slide. It's funny to watch you. Well, it's admirable to take that out. That's not even a word. It's admirable to watch you, because I would love to take half of that off you and have it, because I react very, very quickly. So if something upsets me, you know straight away that it upsets me. But I have learnt since being in this role, and especially in the last year, because I've grown so much, I definitely don't get affected like I used to. Like, pretty much every day. It is
like night and day different now.
Oh, absolutely.
And I knew that would happen. I knew, because I'd been doing it for so long.
Yep.
Eventually you just become numb to all the regular shit that happens day to day.
Well, Elsie always laughs at me, because my new thing is, sure. So I used to get really upset when people used to ring in with really random things of why they couldn't work.
Oh, we've had some ridiculous things.
Oh, we'll get to that. We've had some very ridiculous things. But I used to be in tears. I used to get flustered. I used to feel sick, because I'd have to redo the whole schedule, and I'm trying to get the girls to school and they're going to be late. And then I'm like, oh my God, the first clean's coming and no one's going to show up. What am I going to do? And I used to just fruit out and be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Now it's just, sure.
And that's how I am.
No.
When I used to be managing the team, if someone would call in sick and I'm already understaffed for the day, and then I'm super understaffed, they would tell me, I'm like, okay, no worries. And then I just make it work somehow.
You do. But at the start, oh my God, I used to just be in raptures, and I thought, I can't do this. And there were times, you know, when I first went into managing, I was like, you need to just put me back on the floor. You need to find someone else, because I'm going to.
And I did always try to reassure you that it was going to get better, and I did have a plan for us.
Yep. And it's definitely getting closer to that plan. But the first couple of months, I thought, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to your thermostat reference, you are just so level-headed and so cool and calm, whereas I just get this rise of heat in me and anxiety, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? As I said, it's getting a lot better, but I know that I can come to you with something quite sticky, like if something's happened at a client's home and I'm like, oh my God, I really don't know how to deal with this. You know, if something's been damaged or something, I know I can come to you, and by the time I get off that phone call, I know I'm going to be fine. Like I've
kind of got that, like, everything's going to work out and everything's going to be okay kind of energy, attitude. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And I've actually just read a self-help book, which literally that is one of the key points. You need to constantly say to yourself, it's going to be okay, it's going to work out. And that is what is going to happen.
All we need to do is look at the last, 4 years. You haven't been here for all of it, but the first year I did 150,000. Second year I doubled it, did 300,000.
Yeah.
The third year, which is where you came in and stepped into the management role, we more than doubled it. We did 700,000.
Wow.
And then now we're on track to do 1.5 million. So we're constantly doubling. And if we think about something and we have a bad day and we feel like we're going backwards, we just have to look at the last year and it's like, holy shit, we've literally doubled the entire business.
It's insane.
And if we do the same thing every year, we're going to be in a very good spot.
A very good spot. And it's so lovely to hear that because, you're so wrapped up in the everyday that you do. I don't really see the numbers and I don't see what I'm bringing to the table. So when you say that, we've doubled, we've tripled, whatever, the numbers are, it's so lovely to be validated to think, oh, thank God.
And I always try to make sure you know how much impact you have. And I tell our assistant, Jessa, to always, share numbers with you. And I tell you about the KPIs every month. And
which I still don't know what that stands for, but...
but just seeing those numbers grow, and I know that it's all you now. I'm the one, obviously, who does the marketing and kind of puts that. But everything that comes after that is you.
Thank you.
So
it's a terrifying thought.
No, you've done exceptionally well, and
thank you.
My biggest fear now is trying to have to replace you if you were to die. So
please
don't die.
Well,
I might have to get life insurance on you if that's possible.
I'm not planning on dying, but
I wasn't planning on dying either, but we knew what happened recently.
Well, yes,
we should talk about that.
We should talk about that, Jason. So, yes, I had to play mummy role for a little bit there.
Yeah, so a few people would know I bought a brand new sports car. It was a bit of a fast car. I went from a Kia to that. And I actually felt bad when I bought that Audi. So
why did you feel bad?
I felt bad because my mum had a shit box. And so I had a Kia Cerato that I bought when I started the business, and I gave that to my mum because I felt so bad, and I took her crappy old
lawnmower.
The lawnmower, as Stacy calls it. And so after about 8 weeks of owning my brand new Audi, I was going home one night around 11 p.m. after a dinner. I took a wrong turn, was going down a straight stretch of road for, 3 minutes. And then for some reason, without warning, the road just turns to unsealed. And I remember it very vividly. The car started to slide. And then that's kind of where my memory's gone because I was knocked unconscious. But in that moment when my car was sliding, I actually remember saying, "Oh shit, I'm dead." And it's funny because I said it so calmly. I said it so calmly.
Your thermostat, I'm dead.
I never overreact. Actually, that was a massive underreaction. But even in that moment, I'm sliding, going,
I'm dead.
I'll say how fast I'm going. So I was going 178 k's an hour, which people don't know, but it was dumb and I would never do that again.
I hope you won't.
But in that moment, I literally said to myself, "Oh shit, I'm dead."
My God.
And I thought I was about to die.
I'd be vomiting and having a panic attack and I'm dead.
And I had no idea I was going that fast. I thought I was going a lot slower, and then the investigators looked at the data in the car and they told me that, and I was like, "Oh my God."
In a car like that, you wouldn't even realise.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. But then I woke up in the ambulance. I think it must have been an hour after because my car called the ambulance. I was in the middle of nowhere.
Lucky you had that mechanism on your phone because you would be dead.
Yeah, the car, as soon as the airbags go off in these new cars, they call the ambulance because I had a massive gash in my head that I would have probably bled out from.
Oh.
But I woke up in the ambulance. So first thing I think is like, "Oh, I'm alive," I think. and then I grab my phone. I grab my phone and go on Snapchat and just take a picture of my face because I don't even know what's happened to me. I'm like, all right, well, I'm covered in blood and I'm in a neck brace, but my face looks all right.
So that's good.
I don't even know if my legs are still there, if my arms are there because I know one of my arms is there at least. And it's the right one, which is good. And I had no idea if my legs were there or anything. But and then the paramedic comes over and she's like, "Do you know what's happened?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, think it did.
Like, yeah, it crashed. And she was like, she tried to console me. I'm like, "No, it's all right." I was like, "Am I okay?" She's like, "I think so." And I was like, "Well, all right." And then she's like, "Do you want to call anyone?" So I said, "Yeah, I'll call my mum or my dad."
I'm glad it wasn't your manager.
I called my mum first, and she didn't pick up. So
nice work, mum.
I called my dad, and then I was like, "Hey, Dad, I just got into a car accident, but it's all right. Don't worry, I'm fine." And then the paramedic jumped in, And she was like, yeah, don't worry, he's okay. Because I sounded way too calm.
It's way too calm.
And he can hear like probably sirens and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, I got taken to the trauma ward at Royal Perth Hospital. And this is a Thursday night. So we're supposed to be working the next day. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't really remember much because I was just out of it for so long. But how did you find out about that and how did you react?
It was absolutely crazy. I'll backtrack just a little bit. It was funny because before you had the accident, I'd had this little moment. As I said before, I've recently left my marriage. So, finances and how I'm going to move forward in life is always in the back of my head. And I'd only had a thought because I knew that you had bought this car because we had gone for a little test drive in it.
My mum had the same thought.
Yes. I was like at home and just laying in bed thinking about shit that you do. And I was like, oh my God, what about if he dies? Where am I? Because it's kind of like a bloody marriage again. Like financially, I'm dependent on you. And there's still so much of the business that I couldn't do without you. And I was having this epiphany in bed thinking, shit, if he dies and kills himself in this bloody car, I'm screwed. So I was actually getting ready. It was the Friday morning and I was just in the bathroom getting ready to get the girls to school and get to work. And we had just re-won a contract that kind of got taken off us and back on us, all the rest of it.
Was it that time?
It was that time. Okay. So if you remember rightly, the next week you were meant to be down with me for the whole week to help me do the nights to get it started.
And we were already understaffed at that point.
And we were understaffed. And so I'd got a message from your mum and it said something like, Stace, can you give me a call as soon as you can? And your mum actually had a clean booked in that day. So I just thought it was in reference to that she was leaving the keys somewhere or there was a treat for Ruby or something like that. So I thought, I'll just finish what I'm doing and I'll, call your mum back. And anyway, it was probably only about 5 minutes later, the phone rang and it was your mum and I was like, oh, crap. And I just had that heart drop moment of this isn't going to be good. Picked up the phone. She goes, hey, going, Stace? I said, yeah, good, Shelley. How are you? She goes, well, I've got some bad news. And I'm like, what? And straight away emotions. And she's like, Jason's in the trauma ward.
Oh, she started with that.
She started with that.
She could have said I was okay.
No. He's in the trauma ward at Royal Perth. Jason's had an accident. Actually, no, I think she started with that. Jason's had an accident. He's in the trauma ward at Royal Perth.
That's my mum. She's always dramatic. She could have started with saying, but he's okay.
He's okay, but no. And then, at that time, I don't think she did know that you were okay because you were still in your neck brace. You still didn't have any of your scans
that's a
back.
good point, actually.
So she probably actually, in her defense, she probably didn't know that you were okay. And I said, shit. And I said, do you know anything? And she basically said, no, not at the moment. I think she was actually already up there with you at that stage, or she was on her way.
I can't remember the timeline, but I had scans of my whole body and they somehow missed the fact that my pelvis was fractured.
Half of your body was fractured.
Yeah, so they missed a lot of stuff. And then I think they've also missed stuff in my neck because I've got some neck issues now, but it's not bad. Yeah. And I had this massive cut in my head.
It was revolting.
You could kind of see it through my hair, but it didn't look bad. And then they shaved it with no anesthetic. They're using the clippers with no guard on my head. And I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurts a bit. And then
it was horrendous.
He shaves it off.
Gross.
And I hear the doctor or the nurse or whatever, he goes, ooh.
Oh, that's not pretty.
And then my mum comes around to the right side of my head and she's like, oh. And then she goes like this to my dad. She's beckoning my dad to come over. And my dad's like, oh. And I'm like, what? What's going on? And she takes a photo of my head.
And sends it to me, which was lovely.
And I've just got this massive hole in my head.
It's revolting. I don't know how.
And I love showing people that.
It was and no warning when your mum sent it. I've just opened it up. There's this half of your brain falling out. I'm just like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
But not even when you took the photo in the ambulance, you've even written a caption like, been in a little accident, but I'm okay. And I'm like, oh my Lord, Jason.
I don't think anything in life can really bother me too much.
To go through what you've been through and to still just shake it off. For anyone to be in such a serious accident and post that on Instagram, I would have just been an absolute mess. But it was a very interesting time because basically that whole day I had your mum and your granddad updating me constantly what was going on. And as I said previously, Jason and I had just got a really big contract given back to us because their cleaner had left again. And it was 5 nights a week. We had no staff. No one wants to work nights. So me and beautiful Elsie literally had to do this.
Elsie's amazing, yeah. That was actually going through my head when I was lying in the hospital bed. I was like, oh, shit, Stacy needs me all of next week. And then I remember asking a nurse that came in,
can I work?
I was like, do you reckon I could work? And she's like, you're a fucking idiot.
You had messaged me and you said, don't worry, I'll be back in 2 days. And your mum's messaging me. Actually, your mum was at my house and she's like, no, he won't be. And I'm like, I know he won't be. It's okay.
I felt like a celebrity or like a president at that point. I had like 5 nurses around my bed at all times.
Oh my God. Well,
amazing. I got the best service at RPH.
I don't think you realise how close you were to killing yourself. And
then I remember telling you about how my skin had all peeled off my hands and feet.
Yep.
I didn't think much of it, but it was so weird. It was like I was shedding my whole body.
Your whole skeleton.
And then you said it was like
it's a trauma
near-death experience.
Yeah, it's a near-death trauma response, especially in aged care when I was working in that. People that had strokes or heart attacks or something like that and been brought back, they literally shed pretty much, not so much on their torso and stuff, but their hands and feet will literally deglove. And it's a near-death experience that causes that.
And honestly, I am kind of glad it happened in some ways because it did change my whole perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And even now I'm starting to restructure the business a bit and I'm bringing Stacy more into the, like I'm giving you a profit share soon. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure there's systems in place that if I were to die, if I were to kill myself again.
Don't do that, Jason.
that Stacy would be able to take over and be okay because I did realise a lot of things and that, my actions do have consequences. And I thought, wow, I've got, over 20 staff and I just can't be doing things like this. And, even on the night, I wasn't trying to be stupid, but I was definitely being careless. And it's a miracle that I didn't die or let alone become paralysed.
How you walked out with only what you have is incredible.
And I went to the club a week later for my birthday on crutches.
You're a twit.
With a massive,
As it was your birthday. That's right. I do remember that.
Yeah, it was, I think it was the 18th of April I crashed and my birthday was the 29th. I was like, I'm not missing.
No, you still went out. You still went out.
Went out and drank a bit. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was a massive learning curve for me and it's definitely changed my view on a lot of things. And
absolutely.
I'm going to be a lot more careful and also more organised in the business so that, Stacy isn't left in the lurch because that would have been bad. A lot of people would have been out of a job. Yeah. A lot of people would have been owed money and no one would have known how to do organise that. So I have actually taken steps to sort that out in future if that were to ever happen. Because lots of things can happen unexpectedly too.
Well, that's it. I mean, yes, as you said, you're being careless, but, you had no intent of hurting anyone or yourself. But, I mean, it could be as simple as,
Just to clarify, I did not hurt anyone else.
No.
I was in the middle of nowhere,
no
literally middle of nowhere. So if my car didn't call the ambulance, I would have definitely
You would have been dead. You would have been
dead.
But
I didn't hurt anyone else and I didn't damage any property besides a tree.
And your car. Your very expensive car. Yes. But, as I said, as we were coming here, I got T-boned on the roundabout. And it was no fault of ours. They literally ran the roundabout. They were slowing down. I could say they were, and then they just fanged it and took us out. Accidents happen all the time, and we don't know what's around the corner. And it was a big wake-up call, not just for yourself but for me, because I don't know if you realise, but a lot of people on the team who knew what had happened, like I didn't say in depth what had happened, but I'd let the team know that you were in an accident, not to contact you. But I think they had the right to know as, they will care for you. You're not just a boss. And, a lot of them said to me, Stace, what happens if he dies? Because at that time we really didn't know what was going to happen or if you were going to be paralysed or if you were going to sell the business because you were incapacitated. Like we didn't know. These were all things. We've got a lot of single mums on our team and they were all kind of thinking the same thing as me. Shit, what happens if Jason folds the business? It's the first thing my mum said to me. When I told her, she said, Stacy, are you going to be okay? And I said, I don't know, Mum. I really don't know. It was scary. And also because I had that in the back of my head and then the stress of trying to organise what the hell I was going to do for the next week because you were going to be my right-hand man to get that job up and running. And I was like,
somehow you got it done.
All kudos to Elsie. If I didn't have her during that time, I wouldn't have been able to make it work.
Yeah, and Elsie's great. She's one of our supervisors and lead trainers, and she's just amazing. She's got a work ethic like Stacy's, and she has the same sort of attitude. And I think that's very rare.
It is very, very.
We've
rare
hired over 150 people at this point, and there's just not many people like that. So when you have people similar to that on your team, you want to hold on to them.
Absolutely.
I keep telling Stacey I'm not letting her go anywhere. I'm about to lock her in for another 5 years and throw some more money at her. So.
As long as it's not pregnancy, Jason. But getting back to Elsie, I want to say that about all of the team. Elsie is kind of my right-hand man. Like I'm yours, she's mine. You have to have someone that you can bounce off and throw things off. And because I see Elsie the most, because she does the most hours, she really was the one that propped me up, and she had the availability to. It's not to say that the other girls didn't want to help me out, because that wasn't the case. As I said, during that time, especially like when I first came into this role, everyone on the team was such team players and all had my back. But for this particular scenario, Elsie had my back 100%.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The business has always done really well financially. We've always been able to get customers. I've been really good at the marketing side. But
absolutely.
For both of us, it's been our first time managing people.
Oh, absolutely.
And so there's been a lot of issues, and it's been hard to adjust to it. We're finally here, and it's taken that long.
Yep,
but
exactly. We're there.
Life does happen. It happened to me.
Yep.
And it happens all the time to our staff. We get, things that just we can't account for.
Yep.
And we do have to, it's something you can't teach, and you just need to use your own judgment. And I think you do a very amazing job at that. So
thank you. It's getting easier. It's getting easier.
We hear a lot of funny excuses too, which I don't know if we want to get into, but it's just ridiculous. And you will get that as you grow a team. You're going to you're going to hear so many funny things, and you sometimes just want to rattle people and say like, what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly.
Just smack some sense into them, but you can't do that.
No, you have to be professional, and
you have to swallow your pride a little bit.
Yes, you do. And, I'm learning that the hard way too. I don't have much of a filter, as you know, and I sometimes say things in the heat of the moment that could very much get me into trouble.
It also works really well for you, though, because you have such a strong rapport with all the team members.
I do.
Much more than I could have ever done. It's hard for me. I feel like it's always been hard because I'm a 23-year-old guy.
Yeah.
And I have, 25 to 30 employees, all female, all
your little harem,
all older than me for the most part. Mums. I can't.
Except for me, I'm a little bit younger than you.
Yes.
22.
It's hard for me to relate to them, first of all, but it's even harder to create like a friendship dynamic.
Absolutely.
So I think it's perfect what we have now, where you're friends with everyone,
yep,
while still being their boss, and then I'm also, I'm friendly with everyone,
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't say I'm friends with everyone.
Yep. Which is, I think it kind of needs to be, because as I said, when there's times where they're not, and I know that it doesn't come from a place of disrespect. It's very hard for them to, when I do come in as, manager Stacy, and like, that's not acceptable, you need to lift your game. They still see me as friend Stacy, and sometimes some people take it on the chin beautifully, and they're like, "No, awesome, Stace won't do it again." Whereas others take it personally, like me as their friend is telling them that they're not doing it.
Yeah, whereas if I told them, I would get a very different
response.
Yeah, so that's been interesting navigating that too.
Yep.
But I think, the dynamic we have is really, really good, and it works well.
I think it does too.
And I think going forward, we have everything in place now, and the next 12 months are going to be really easy, and we're going to really take this business to new heights, and it's going to be exciting.
Even over the last 2 weeks, Jace, how much more I've been able to breathe has been incredible.
It sounds so horrible.
It does. It really, not you're a bloody slave driver. It's just the nature of the business. You just have to do what you have to do to get it done.
And it is necessary to get to that point. And then now we're at this point, it's just smooth sailing.
Yeah. Well, I felt guilty all week. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like
I felt guilty when I threw you in there.
Oh my God, don't feel that's your job.
If you ever feel like, it was too much and you don't feel rewarded for it, which I know you don't.
No,
but
not at all.
It took me 2.5 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
And we've gotten you there a lot quicker. So I'm hoping, next time we do this, because inevitably we're going to need someone else to be Stacey.
Oh,
and you're going to step into my role.
Yep.
it'll be a lot quicker because we know
Oh yeah,
all the
we've
mistakes we made,
mistakes.
and we know all the things that work and what don't. And a lot of it is just people. The majority of the issues in a cleaning business is people-based.
Absolutely, it is.
So you need someone at the helm who is really good with people, like Stacy,
yeah.
and can empathise with people, but also be a boss. And that's something that I just couldn't do.
It is. It's a hard line because, as you said, I'm probably a little bit too nice in some instances, that's just my personality. I can't change that. But I've definitely learnt to be able to get a message across without coming across as a boss.
And you being too nice has been negative in other aspects where, with certain clients,
yes,
they mistake your niceness for you being interested in them.
Yes.
And there is one that
I knew this was going to come up.
Sticks out to me, who I don't want to say his name because he's got a very unique name.
Yes.
But I know you know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
This so we do a lot of NDIS work.
Yes.
And there was this lovely little fellow, so I thought, who lived in a little house on one of the main streets in Bunbury, and he had some funding for some cleaning. And I think
and other things.
And I went in and did the quote because this is back when we were a lot smaller back then, and so I did all the quotes. And I go in there, and he's really nice. He greets me and asks how I'm going, and then his support worker comes in, and while we're sitting down just talking about the frequency and what time and day we're going to do the cleans, his support worker just makes some random comment about him having strippers over, and I'm like, okay, interesting.
I didn't know that bit.
And then he laughs about it, and she talks about how she's going to the beach for Christmas or something, and then he makes a comment about seeing her naked. He's like, "Oh well, can I see you without your bikini or something?" I'm like, "Okay, well that's really interesting. I've never seen this happen." And I walk around the house and I start seeing some really weird stuff. I see photos of strippers and I think prostitutes and And then I asked him about it.
He's very open about it. He's not shy.
I was like, what's all this about? And he says, something. I think he said he was a male stripper at one point.
He was.
And no offense to him, but I can't imagine that.
No, I couldn't either.
Yeah, so look, I didn't think much of it because at the time I was a bit naive and I didn't understand the system well. And I thought, he's got a support coordinator. She probably keeps him in line and makes sure he's okay and doesn't, do anything weird with people.
Yeah.
So
weird with people.
I sent Stacy in to clean this guy's house.
Oh, thank you so much.
And Stacy being Stacy was just nice to him. That's all it was. She was just nice to him and, asked him about his day and all that sort of stuff. And after a while, he began to get really weird.
Extremely.
I think he asked you for your number.
Yep.
After a while, I went to go clean his house once because I knew you were starting to get uncomfortable. So I said, all right, I'll do it. And then after a couple of weeks, I went in there and I see this little gift basket.
The gift.
I see a little gift basket on his table and it says, "To my beautiful Tracy."
Jack doesn't even know my name.
And I'm like, I sent you a photo of it. I'm like,
I think this is for you.
I think this is for you, Tracy. And then he comes in, he sees me like hovering over this thing and he's like, "Oh yeah, good. Where's Stacy? Oh, where's Tracy?" He said Tracy. I'm like, "Oh, well, Stacy is just, she's taking a bit of time off at the moment." And he's like, "Well, could you give this gift to her?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll
okay.
Did I end up giving it to you?
You did.
I did. I don't want to know what was in it.
No, it was just my favourite chocolates because he knew what they were.
Okay, well, talk about the time you were there and the things he would leave for you, which he would not leave for me.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like it was to be on show. So I went into the bedroom and I didn't really notice it at first because you have to walk through the bedroom to get into the bathroom. So I've gone in to clean the bathroom, then I've gone into the bedroom just to make the bed and all the rest of it. And littered all around the bed is, I backtrack. When I emptied the bin, it was full of used condoms. And I was
And you're probably thinking, who the hell who is in here doing all this with him?
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, I don't really want to know. And just started tying up the bag, but I was a little bit unprofessional and took a little sneaky photo and sent it to Jason.
Yeah, just to send it to me. Obviously, I don't share that with anyone else.
No. It was completely private, but I was like, oh, Lord. And
we have to do that to keep sane sometimes. We have to share
you-
experiences because otherwise we just go mental.
Oh, absolutely, you do. And as I said, didn't go any further than Jason. But then when I walked into the bedroom, there's used condom packets and condoms all around the bed as if it was, on show.
Yeah, it's like he's
This is
saying,
what I
like,
can
this is
still
what
do.
I can do.
Yeah.
Look at me.
And it was very uncomfortable. But even when I was there, on his laptop, there would be pornography playing just while
And this is all stuff that he would never have out on display when I was cleaning there. None of this. That's why I was so blindsided when Stacy told me about this stuff, because I knew like he was, a bit different.
Absolutely.
But I had no idea he was being like this, because he was never anything like it with me. He would just let me clean because obviously I'm a big guy and he's not into that.
Let's hope not.
poor Stacy, because of your
it.
niceness, you do cop it. And
a lot of it's not just him. Like, I've had other instances where I have been propositioned, and my nature is just friendly, and sometimes it gets taken as flirting. So there's always an interesting story.
in the 4 years I've been in this business, I've never had one customer proposition me.
I can't
and I'm a bit jealous.
it. Sorry, Jace. Sorry, Jace. I'll give you their numbers. You can have them.
Well, if they're men, then
Well, they might. You never know. You never know, do you? You never know. But yeah, it makes your day a little bit more fun sometimes.
and it really opened my eyes to what women have to go through as well, because you really aren't, you aren't inviting that,
No.
but it just comes to you. And I went to this.
You're scrubbing a toilet, for God's sake. That's not sexy.
And there was one office that we cleaned that I went to with you.
Yes.
And we were in the break room there, and just seeing the guys that just stare at her, and even some of them will walk past and make really, really obnoxious comments while there's other people there watching. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's the norm.
And it's not something I ever thought about, but yeah, women have to go through shit like this.
Yeah. And you do have to be careful. Like, with the person in question, it did get to the point where he was making, comments that had little innuendo behind them. And I was like, I'm actually getting a little bit uncomfortable with this. I knew that I knew there was no threat because I could outrun it, but like outrun him, that sounds terrible. Sorry, that sounded terrible. I didn't mean that like that.
He was like confined to a walker and a wheelchair, but yeah. And then as soon as it got to the point where Stacy was like, I don't feel comfortable anymore, I just got rid of the client.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have that today where, we have so many staff, it's inevitable that we're going to get some odd people.
Yeah.
And we have had that, and we've had to cancel cleans, and we've had to get rid of clients because the cleaners just don't feel comfortable. And
I've always said that to the girls, right from the start of training. If you ever in a home where you feel uncomfortable, it may not even be a sexual thing. It might be something that's illicit or, just a weird vibe that you get being there, or you may know them from your past, like be honest with me. Come to me and say, you're feeling uncomfortable there, and I will make sure I put someone else there, or if it's something to really be concerned about, I'll pull the job.
yeah.
So, but it needs to be. And, Jace, it is a sad world that women do have to be careful, but it is the reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I've learned so many things, after working with so many different women. I really have a new perspective on what women have to go through, especially mums, and what their day is like, and managing that. And then also, in your case where you're just, nice to people, and a lot of people can mistake that for you being interested in them, particularly with males. And it's just not something that I've ever really thought about before, but working with so many different women has really given me a new perspective on what they go through. And so it's made me more understanding as a boss, and even just as a friend.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a really lovely way to put it. And, it's even to the point, back with training, like the girls always message me and say, what do I wear? And I literally have to go to the lengths of saying, please don't wear scrunch bum leggings to work or a low cut top. And that's, number one, that's a professional sense, but it's also because I don't want them to be put in a position where they're being ogled. Yeah, like and I shouldn't have to say that, but I do. But
it's so strange. There's been times where I've been at a job site with you, and there will be like workers, if it's a commercial clean, they'll just be staring at you.
Yeah,
and I'm looking at them as they're staring at you, like, hey, I can see you.
It's not subtle.
It's not subtle at all.
Yes, it's and I think because a lot of our industrial cleans too, they are male dominated, and then we're all women going in there. it's going to invite certain situations you don't want to have happen. And then sometimes we put ourselves in that position, but we won't go into that.
Oh, yeah, there's, when you've got lots of males kind of intertwined with females in a workplace.
Yep.
Things happen.
Things happen.
We've had some staff who have had, things with
indiscretions.
Clients, indiscretions. And, we leave that to the people. It's up to them. But
it is, but we do have rules in place as well to protect ourselves and them. But at the end of the day, they're adults, and if
obviously just don't do it in the office.
And don't wear your uniform.
And don't record it, especially if you're wearing the uniform.
Exactly right.
So, yeah, I mean, these are adults we're dealing with, so adults are going to do adult things.
Well, exactly. We're all human, and it's not like it doesn't happen in other workplaces as well.
And look, I'm 23, and I feel like I've had the experience of someone who's 60, just with all the things I've had to go through and learn about. And it's I don't think there's many other people my age who have had to kind of go through all of this.
God,
and
no.
It's really interesting, especially when I speak to people. When I speak to other people my age and I talk about what I do, and there's just such a disconnect. Well, because it's like I've skipped 10 or 20 years of life experiences by working in this role and owning this business.
Absolutely. And even just meeting you, you are so much more mature than anyone else your age. Because you have had so much life experience.
I'm surprised you thought I was mature at that point. I was so terrified of everything at that point. I was scared to talk to people. I was like, my heart was pounding when you were on the way here. I was like, how am I going to introduce myself? What am I going to say? How do I even do this?
Well, I was the same way, but that's just because I just didn't want to die on the job. But you never ever come across that, and you always come across so confident. And like even seeing you when you were on I don't know the name of
the TV,
the world's fastest cleaner,
and the project. Like I felt physically sick when I was going on the project, and then I tell people that, and they're like, "But you seem really confident." I was like, "Yeah, I've got pseudo confidence. Yeah. I've got fake confidence."
Oh my God! But you would never have picked it, and poor Jason having to hear what I had to do before I came here. I'm terrified just to do a bloody podcast, never alone go on national TV.
We're over an hour in. Can you believe it?
Oh my God. Well, that's us. We talk all day long. So
that's why I wish we could have done this for 6 hours, but I know you've got a family and a life, whereas I don't. I've just got my, I have a family.
Well, you have a family. Where's your family?
I don't have kids.
You don't have kids. You don't have kids.
I'm glad that I was able to have an impact on you with the financial side and give you, a good income to support them and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I can't, I've said it to you before, I always end up in tears, so I won't do that today, but I am so beyond grateful. Number one, that you picked up the phone that day, but just the opportunities you've given me, Jace, like they are life-changing, and not just for me, but for my girls and the situation that I'm in. So thank you. Thanks for trusting me with your business. My God.
I'm glad you're here, because I don't know, in hindsight, what I would have done without someone like you. I would have just had to stay in Bunbury, keep doing what I was doing, and sure, I still would have, ended up here. But Stacy has given me so many opportunities by allowing me to take time out, like, going on TV, doing all these things in Perth and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And it's like, I'm really appreciative that she's done that for me. And I was getting to a point where I didn't really know why I was even doing the business anymore. Like, I was making good money.
Yep.
I had no idea what my why was.
Yep.
And then I started to hire different people, and people have their own lives and their own stuff going on. Yep. And then when Stacy came to me one day and told me that, she was leaving her marriage and, she didn't know what she was going to do, it wasn't long after that I put you in your role and gave you a massive pay bump.
Massive pay bump.
And then I realised, like, wow, this is a really amazing opportunity I have to impact other people and help out. And that's what really gets me going these days. That's what my drive is that I can have an impact on other people. Because at the end of the day, the numbers are on a screen. It's just going up and up. And it's like, it doesn't really give you any purpose or any fulfillment. But helping other people out and having an impact certainly does.
Oh, and it's amazing. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit that I don't even know how to explain this, but you know what you've done for me and my family, and I'll be forever grateful for that. But it's not just me, it's every single person on this team. Like, you look at Elsie and Sienna. We've got this gorgeous little, she's not even 16 yet, year old, that is on, $31 plus an hour.
And even her mum, Elsie, Elsie had some time off in hospital.
Yes, and she was so unwell.
Yeah, and when she was in hospital, because I value her so much as a team member. Even when she was in hospital, I was still sending her pay slips when she wasn't working. And I didn't think much of it because for me, it's just, sending money from the business. I don't really care about that. Yeah. But then she sent me the nicest messages and she was, really, really grateful. Yep. And for something that isn't such a big gesture for me, to other people it is.
It's massive. And that's putting food on her children's tables.
And I felt really good about doing that. And so, I really appreciate the opportunities that I have to give to other people as well.
Beautiful. And we've got other people on the team that are now in the same position that I was in. And I don't think you realise the impact that it has on them. And, and like getting back to Sienna, she's this young, gorgeous teenager that's now just over the last school holidays has been able to save enough for a car.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's huge. Like how many 15-year-olds can say in one holiday have saved enough to
She's
buy
probably making 3 times more than any of her friends.
Any other teenager, exactly. And, and that to me is a reflection of, you've done that because Elsie is such a wonderful team member that, you've done that, because of her. Like we could have just put her in on $17 an hour, but
and I also trusted Elsie's judgment when she said, this is my daughter and I trust that she's good. I had full faith in Elsie that she was going to deliver. So I had no issues with putting a 16-year-old girl with no experience and nothing straight into work. And she's been amazing. She's actually really, really good.
She's fantastic. And the job that the main job that she does in the evenings, it's a huge responsibility. The company that she's going into work for, it's, some of our senior staff I wouldn't put there that, straight off the bat. So kudos to her. Like she's got a good little head on her shoulders, that one, and
she'll be going places.
She will be. She will.
She definitely takes after her mum. She's got that drive, and Elsie is an amazing person, and I think everyone we have now is amazing. I really love the team we have.
Team's fantastic.
We've selected all the people who weren't great, and we've kind of gotten rid of them,
pilfered them out.
Now we've filtered everything down and we've got a really great team. And
we do.
The next 12 months are going to be amazing. The team we have.
Absolutely. Like everyone, there is not anyone on the team that I would say a bad word about. Yes, I might have my moments in the morning when they call in sick and I might use explicit language for a second, but that's not a personal thing. But everyone in their own right are so special. And as I said, the support that they've given me in the role that I have, I can't thank the team enough. And we wouldn't be where we are today without them. And they are the backbone of this business. And I give all the credit to them because they are all, and like we say a lot about Elsie, I don't want, if our team is watching this, to think that we don't appreciate them as much. The only thing is with Elsie is because her children are older, she has the flexibility to be more available to me when I need things, whereas, the others have young families, so, their time is more limited. But they are all amazing people. And
a lot of people have really stepped up. And
absolutely.
It's easy to, marketing and all this other stuff in business, it's predictable and you can do it and there's no human element involved.
Yep.
But without the human element, there is no business.
No business.
And so what I really appreciate Stacey's done is she's really cultivated that culture where everyone loves coming into work and they love working with each other. And that's something that I don't think I ever could have done on my own. So
thank you.
You've really brought a big thing to the table, and you're well deserving of the pay you get.
Thank you. Well, I'm very appreciative of the pay I get. But it's that's kudos to all of the girls as well. They are all such beautiful people in their own right that whenever we have someone new come in, they are all so inviting and so welcoming. There's a lot of stigma in jobs where it's that pecking order when someone new comes in and, you're the top dog, you talk down and, this little group's over here and, you've got to work your way up to be up with us. That doesn't happen in our team. Like all of our trainers, like Shan, Tegan especially, Elsie, sometimes Sharon I throw in as much as she hates me when I do it. They're all so inviting and it doesn't matter. I don't ever have to look at a job and think, I can't put that one with that one. None of them. And I'm so particular.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Everyone can work together. You can't. That's rare in most workplaces.
Very
There's
rare.
going to be a lot of conflicts, but with the amount of people we have, it's amazing that everyone is so, harmonious together.
So they really are, Jason. I think that's because I probably drive you nuts with the hiring process because I'll just say straight off the bat, nah, I'm not hiring.
Yeah, there's sometimes I get people that I'm like, oh, we do an interview and she seems great.
Yep.
And I put her on to Stacy or our assistant Jessa.
Yep.
And then it gets to a point where Stacy just immediately says, no, we can't have this person.
Yep.
And it's because I'm not so involved with the team like you are, but you just know when certain people aren't going to work.
Yep.
And we do have an idea. We've experienced a lot of patterns.
Yes.
In our time, and we know what works, what doesn't, what things to look out for. And sometimes you just can't predict some things. Like we have a story that I've just been reminded of with a particular Zoom call.
Oh gosh, yes.
So to give some context, a long time ago when I was still, the team wasn't so big. I think we had maybe 8, 9 people.
Yeah, I think we're actually probably about down to 7, just going on to 8 at that time.
Yeah, so very small team at that point, and we just hired someone who I thought she was great. She did talk a lot, but I thought she was great. First day of work, she calls me while I'm at a construction site cleaning, and actually she doesn't call me. Her husband calls me, and she says, "I'll just say her name. Yeah. Her name is Lou." Yeah. Her husband calls and says, "Lou can't come into work today." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, she's injured her knee and she's really, disappointed that she can't come to work, and she is sad, but she can't come in." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's okay." And he's like, "I called you because she was nervous to talk to you because she didn't know how you're going to react." I'm like, "No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Just come back when you're ready." And in a fleeting comment, I was like, "Oh, when I was younger, I, hurt my knees playing soccer, and it does take a while to heal. So just take all the time you need."
Yep.
I didn't think much of that comment. That was me just saying, rest up and take it easy. And
it was something kind, but it wasn't taken in the same context.
And what I didn't know at the time was that this lady took that as me being completely ignorant and arrogant. And because she's, 30 years older than me, and she thought that I was being like completely naive. And she goes, "Well, I'm, 40 years old. My knees don't heal like yours."
Yeah.
And she just took it the complete wrong way. And I had no idea. So she started to harbor resentment towards me. And she found my TikTok, where at the time I'd probably started that and had maybe 5,000 followers. Yeah. There was a video I'd made where I talk about how I mold people to fit the role of a team member.
Yeah.
And we send them through a training process, and we really shape people into the cleaner that we need.
Yeah.
And, that's any business. They have a training process, and they need to take someone who's never been in the business and shape them into the right person.
How we work,
for the role. Yeah. And then she took that as me being a misogynist and a womanizer and saying that I take women and sculpt them into the woman I want them to be.
Yep.
I just want to say I don't try to reshape women in any way, but I do try to shape team members into a way that's going to work in our team and deliver that. So anyway, she took that as me being a misogynist and womanizer, which I again didn't know. No. So she's just again and again harboring resentment towards me. Yep. And then when I'm in Bunbury, I stay with my grandparents. Yep. And I'm probably there once every 3 weeks. And so because I'm such a good grandson, I let my grandparents have their house get cleaned for free. And so one day I had this lady go and clean my grandparents' house. Yep. And again, I didn't think anything of it because we've had plenty of people clean my grandparents' house. And then she says to you or to her husband that I'm, a terrible person, and I'm picking on her for making her clean my house and my bathroom. And she says some gross stuff about what I do in the bathroom. And she's like, "I can't believe he's making me do this." And again, she's just harboring more and more resentment that I have no idea about. Because, even Stacy will say I'm a very nice person to our staff. I'm never snappy with anyone. I never say anything bad to people.
Never.
So I had no idea. Anyway, it all leads up to this. We switched our software from ZenMaid to Jobber. So I did a team Zoom meeting to show people how to use this new software.
It was awful.
And I went into this Zoom meeting not thinking anything of it. And I'm just showing people how to use Jobber. I'm like, this is how you clock in, this is how you clock out. Yep. And then out of nowhere, Lou just goes, "So do we get paid for travel?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah, you get paid every week. You get a travel allowance. It's in your payslip." And she's like, "Well, I live in Australian, and I have to go all the way to Dalyellup. Why am I not getting paid for that?" And then I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting." And I'm like, "Well, if you work in a retail shop, you don't get paid to drive to
Drive
Big
to work.
W.
Yep.
But you get paid while you're on the clock in between houses. And she's like,
Yep.
well, I'm not working in retail, am I? I'm like, oh boy.
But it doesn't matter what you're working in. You don't
Yeah.
get paid to drive to work.
Yeah. So I'm like, you get paid travel, but you don't get paid to and from work. But if that's an issue for you, we can just give you jobs closer to where you live.
Yep.
Didn't seem happy with that. She literally, made a...
It was aggressive.
She scoffed. She's like, oh.
Yeah.
So I moved past that and I was like, okay, that was weird. Didn't think much of it still.
It was very uncomfortable.
And then, I'm showing people how to use this new software. And then out of nowhere again, she's like, my daughter found your TikTok. I'm like, oh yeah, nice. Yep. I started making TikToks, everyone. I'm not trying to hide it. And then she goes, yeah, we found this video about you talking about how you mold women. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, so I made a video because other people in the Zoom call didn't know. I was like, I made a video about how I train staff, about our trainable system and all this stuff. And she goes, I don't remember exactly. You might remember better. But she called me, literally, she called me a misogynist and a womanizer on this Zoom call in front of all of my staff.
It was extremely uncomfortable. And the person in question, I actually had a very close relationship with at the time. And she helped me through some very personal things, and she was absolutely beautiful to me. But when she got onto this Zoom call, she also kind of threw me under the bus, and she goes, Stacy, are you hearing this? And I was like, why am I being dragged into this conversation? So it was uncomfortable for me because I felt like she was making it out like we were talking behind your back about you being a misogynist or whatever she was trying to get at. And
she was always trying to be very protective over you.
She was
it's like
very protective.
she had this idea of me in her head that I was a horrible person, and I was being that way to you, and I had
and
like
using
really,
me as well.
And then at some point in the Zoom, she said something like that, and she's like, Stacy, I don't know what she said, but it was something along the lines of protecting you from...
Oh, it was because you didn't appreciate or thank me
I didn't
video.
I didn't appreciate Stacy in my TikTok videos, even though I actually had mentioned you a couple of times.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, I don't really involve anyone else in the TikToks, but if you like to, I can involve you.
Yeah.
And then, she just blew up at me, and I think I don't even know if I kicked her out. I don't think I did. I probably should have.
She stayed on it, and it was so uncomfortable for me because everyone on the team was messaging me, what the hell is going on?
I was freaking out because I had no idea how to deal with it. And I was trying to be so nice the whole time.
You handled it very well.
Today, if that happened, I would have kicked her straight out and she would have been fired straight away.
We're having technical issues.
And my girlfriend at the time was standing next to me and she was like,
what's going on?
The whole time she can hear everything.
It was very uncomfortable. And it was weird because after the Zoom call, like I didn't even know how to handle it, Jace, because as I said, I felt like I kept being brought into...
And the weird thing is it's not like she wanted to leave. She kept working after that.
She did.
I just didn't talk to her ever again because I was like, I'm so scared of her.
It was very, very strange. And at that time, I was definitely the closest one to her on the team. But after the Zoom meeting, she didn't call me. She called another staff member. And then that staff member called me and said she's absolutely tanked. And I was like...
Yeah, I didn't realise it at the time, but she was drunk.
Yeah, and I didn't
and a lot of truth came out of her at that point. But it just goes to show, like, you can think you're treating someone really well and every day, you have that intention to be nice to someone and to try to uplift them in times where they're feeling down or they got injuries and stuff like this, and you can just try to be a nice person, but they can take it somehow the complete wrong way. And you have no idea, and then one day they just blow up at you. And it's like, that was a big lesson for me in business, is that I was very nice to her. Absolutely. I was very, very nice. Then she just blew up, and she had this completely wrong idea about me that everyone else on the team knew was, completely wrong.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing. Like everyone, as I said, everyone was messaging me, like while we were on the Zoom meeting, like, what's going on? And check out one of our team members, God love her. She didn't have a very good poker face and she didn't know that her camera was on. Like her face is like, what? And everyone's like,
I saw that.
Check out so-and-so's face. It was so funny. But, I spoke to this person after the Zoom meeting and it was very hard because, as I said, we were really close friends at that time.
She didn't think she did anything wrong.
No,
and
she
thought that everyone was on the same page as her.
Yeah, she thought that she was. So it was really hard for me to navigate because you're my boss. I'm not going to say anything derogatory about you. But she was my friend. So at the same time, I was trying to have a conversation with her that sided with her. But it was a really awkward position for me to be in.
Yeah, it would be.
And then I was trying to, prop you up and say, that's actually not what he meant by that. But she wasn't hearing it. She had already made up her mind. And you can't ever change someone's perception of what they see of you. And unfortunately, with whatever she was going, what's happening in your own personal life can sometimes shadow your perception of someone else. Yeah. And unfortunately, whatever she was going through, she just had a completely different way of seeing you that wasn't the truth, but it was her truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a very difficult situation for me to be in because, as I said, I was friends with her and I could see both sides of the story. I could see where she was coming from in some of the instances, and I could see where you were coming from. And I knew that there was no malice from what you were saying and how you said it, but I could see how she took it. And I was like, oh, this is just all too hard. But it was the most uncomfortable Zoom meeting I have ever been on in my life.
My life was different from that point on.
It was
weird. A big lesson in life and in business that you can't ever know what's really going on in someone's head.
No.
And no matter how good of a job you think you're doing, it can just be taken the wrong way and really blow up in your face.
Absolutely. And it's hard because when you know there's no ill intent behind it and then someone's calling you out for being a not nice person, that's an attack on your character. And I don't handle that well. And, even in the situations where I've had to pull up someone that is doing something, not necessarily incorrectly, but not the way that I would like them to do it. And, then I hear little whispers of what's been said behind my back. I get it. It's not personal. Like, I vent and I say things that exactly. And that's not me not liking that person. That's just me not liking that situation. But I still love that person. An example of that was beautiful Shazza. I'm going to say your name, Sharon.
Sharon's lovely.
Absolutely love Sharon. She's a absolute bloody workhorse. Like, my God, that woman can work. But bless her, she took a key home one evening after an evening shift and she forgot to return it to where it was meant to be returned. So the next service that came where another worker goes to that job, she's come to my house to collect the key. I was already at another night job, so I couldn't do anything about it. The key wasn't there. And I said, shit. And I used some explicit language and I was like, for fuck's sake, Sharon.
Sounds like you.
Sounds like me. And I cursed her under the sun. But when I rang her and finally got hold of her an hour and a half after the time we were meant to start, because she was at dog training, I said to her, yep, I said what I said. I said, but I love you to death, Shaz, but I had a few moments. And as I said, it's not personal. It's business mode. Fuck, I've got to deal with this. How am I going to deal with it? But I still love everyone.
And that's business. It's unpredictable and you're going to learn a lot of things.
Yep.
They're going to give you a new perspective on life, first of all, but also
absolutely.
Just you don't really expect these things to happen in business. You think it's going to be so systematic where, you get clients, you advertise, you deliver a service, you get paid or you pay people and that's it. Yeah. But there's so many different elements involved that you can never teach someone to account for. You just have to experience it.
You do.
So I think that's why you're so good in your role now, because you've had to be thrown in the deep end and you've experienced it all yourself. But I've learned so much stuff in business and I'm glad that I've been in business because it's really made me who I am today. And I feel like I've really matured as a result of owning and running the business. So.
Absolutely. It was just under 3 years since I met you and you are a completely different person. And I think you'd probably say the same thing about me. You have matured so much and, getting back to your accident, as careless as we can say that it was now, I'm a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. And I think that was something that needed to happen to you to realise you're not invincible. You do have people that rely on you and it's just shifted you into your next stage of life. Yep. You've gone from a boy to a man in a sense, I
agree. It was as bad as it was. I'm glad it happened because my life has changed in a lot of good ways since then.
Absolutely.
And I'm certainly carrying myself a lot differently.
Absolutely. And even, your thermostat reference from before, anyone else that went through what Jason went through, and do you mind if I say the amount of money?
$130,000.
If someone else literally pissed $130,000 down the toilet, they would be in raptures. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd feel sick. I would literally be in a conniption.
I slept like a baby.
Just didn't give two
I
hoots.
had the best sleep of my life for those couple of weeks afterwards.
Oh my God. And like you were so cool about it. And I was like...
That's the thing as well. I realise if you're not cool, it's going to make other people not cool. If you're stressed and you walk into a room full of your staff, it's going to make them stressed.
Exactly right.
Luckily, I'm someone who just is never stressed by nature, but in times where I do just want to say like, oh, fuck, things are fucked.
Yep.
I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
You said that to me. Oh, we'll be fine, Stacy. And I'm like, I don't know how.
Stacey contacted me like, oh, you're not going to fold the business, are you? I'm like, no.
It's the first thing I thought, because I thought if you're paralyzed and, you need to do something else and you're just like, you're not going to want to run the business, it's the first thing that went in.
I'm like, no, Stacey, I'm about to go to the club. I'm fine.
I'm fine. And I always go to, catastrophe first, where Jason's like, nah, I'm cool. I might not be able to walk again and I've lost 130K, but I'm cool.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, I got this awesome scar in my head and I've got these staples. I'm going to the club. I'm thinking about how I can use that to talk to girls. We're going to talk about that soon, about how you've helped with that.
Oh, yes.
But I think we've talked for long enough. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come back.
Nice.
All right.
I have to pee.